The Year of Less by Cait Flanders. Picture yourself standing at a crossroads. Behind you stretches a life crammed with everything society promised would make you happy. A bursting closet, the newest tech toys, a social calendar so packed you can barely breathe. But here's the weird part. Instead of feeling on top of the world, you feel suffocated, like you're drowning in your own success. And there, stretching out in front of you, is this other path. It looks almost scary in its simplicity. Less stuff, less chaos, less everything. So which way do you go? Today, we're diving into the story of someone who actually took that terrifying leap into less and lived to tell the tale. The book is The Year of Less by Cait Flanders, and it's become this quiet revolution for thousands of people who feel like hamsters on the wheel of modern life. Here's what this book isn't: another boring guide about organizing your sock drawer. What it actually is: a brutally honest memoir about what happens when you rip away all the stuff you've been using as emotional band-aids. When we meet Cait, she's 25 and drowning, not metaphorically, but in cold, hard numbers, nearly $30,000 in debt, living in her parents' basement, using shopping, food, and booze like life rafts that keep sinking. Her solution? Radical doesn't even begin to cover it. She banned herself from shopping for an entire year. No new clothes, no gadgets, no books, no cute little things for her apartment. Nothing except absolute rock-bottom necessities. What unfolds is this raw, sometimes uncomfortable, always honest journey that shows you how the things filling our carts are really just band-aids for the holes in our hearts. By the time we're done here, you'll get it. Real freedom isn't having enough money to buy whatever catches your eye. It's building a life where you don't feel that itch in the first place. This is about how losing everything can help you find the one thing that actually matters: yourself. Our story doesn't start with some big dramatic moment. It starts with this nagging feeling, you know the kind. Like when you know something's off, but you can't quite name it. For Cait, this feeling showed up every month when she checked her bank balance. Here's the thing: she'd actually done the impossible. After hitting rock bottom with maxed out credit cards and nearly 30 grand in debt, she'd clawed her way back up. 2 years of brutal budgeting, throwing 55% of her income at that debt mountain, and she conquered it. She was free. Except, not really. The second that debt disappeared, her old demons came creeping back. Not all at once. More like water seeping through cracks. $10 on a book here. $5 on a fancy coffee there. Before long, she'd walk into Target for toothpaste and walk out with a cart full of necessities. She was supposed to be saving for her future, building something real, but at the end of each month, she'd be lucky to save 10%. The rest? Just gone. She was trapped on this treadmill where the more she earned, the more she spent. Her apartment was full, her career was solid, she had friends, but there was always this hollowness, this whisper of not enough. The turning point came on a hike near Whistler with friends. Everyone's talking about what's next: houses, babies, the whole grown-up package. When someone turns to her and asks, "What about you, Cait?" she doesn't have those answers. She's still working on herself. And in that moment of total honesty, this idea she'd been carrying around finally tumbles out. "I've been thinking about this experiment," she says, "where I just don't shop for like 6 months, maybe even a year." Saying it out loud makes it real. This isn't just about money anymore. It's a challenge. If more isn't working, maybe the answer is less. So on her 29th birthday, July 7, 2014, she starts her year-long shopping ban. The rules are deceptively simple. She can only buy consumables: groceries, shampoo, dish soap, and only when she actually runs out. Everything else is off limits: clothes, shoes, books, electronics, home stuff. Even her beloved takeout coffee gets the axe. She makes a tiny, approved list for things she'll desperately need, like winter boots. But she quickly realizes that not bringing in new stuff is only half the battle. The other half? Dealing with the mountain of stuff already there. One day she's digging through a cluttered kitchen drawer, looking for a can opener, and just snaps. She empties everything, every closet, drawer, and cupboard, onto her apartment floor. Her once tidy space becomes this disaster zone of her own making. And staring at these piles of stuff, all of it hers, she doesn't recognize the person who bought it all. This kicks off what she calls the Great Purge. She starts with her wardrobe and gets rid of 55% of it. Those skinny jeans she kept for motivation? Just daily reminders of failure. Gone. The fat clothes she kept just in case? Out. The corporate wardrobe from a job she knew she'd never return to? Bye. What's left is a closet that actually reflects who she is right now, not who she used to be or who she hopes to become someday. But this purge becomes more than tidying. It's emotional archaeology. Each item tells a story. The dozens of unread books bought on impulse for free shipping represent wasted money and forgotten promises to herself. She keeps only the books she truly loves or will actually read, donating 35% of her collection. The most powerful moment comes when she opens a box she's moved 5 times without ever looking inside. Buried among old diplomas and yearbooks are 2 bottles. One's an empty tequila bottle from happier times. The other's a full, unopened bottle of cheap rum. Here's what you need to know. Alongside her spending problem, Cait fought a brutal 14-year battle with alcohol. She drank to feel cool, to numb the sharp edges of insecurity, to escape pain, almost always blacking out. After countless failed attempts, she finally quit at 27. But she kept that rum bottle. As a test, a just in case, for when life got too hard, or her heart got broken, or she decided sober living wasn't worth it. Staring at it now, she knows it has to go. The empty tequila bottle represents a past she doesn't need to carry. The full rum bottle represents a future she's terrified of. She walks to the kitchen and pours the entire thing down the drain. It's not just rum swirling away, it's wasted money, wasted years, wasted chances. Or maybe, just maybe, it's the first real savings she's made. In total, she gets rid of 43% of her belongings in that first month. Her apartment feels lighter, like it can finally breathe. The physical clutter is gone, but the mental clutter? That's going to be way harder. The first few months aren't about dramatic purges. They're about confronting the tiny, everyday habits that lead to mindless buying. Giving up takeout coffee, weirdly enough, feels exactly like giving up alcohol. She craves it when she's tired, as a work break, before running errands. Each craving is a trigger, and she has to consciously choose a different response. Walk to her own kitchen instead of the cafe down the street. She starts seeing these triggers everywhere. A sale email, a friend's book recommendation, a cute scarf spotted while buying mascara. Suddenly this craving appears out of nowhere. Before, she'd just buy it without thinking. Now she has to stop and actually ask herself why she wants it. The shopping ban becomes this wall that forces her to confront her impulses instead of feeding them. The real test, though, doesn't come from a sale or a daily habit. It comes from heartbreak. She'd started dating this guy, Andrew, and for the first time in forever, she'd let her guard down. The relationship was intense and real, but it ended suddenly, leaving her shattered. And what do we do when things hurt? We try to fix the hurt. This is where retail therapy starts singing its siren song. Suddenly, everything in her life feels wrong, and she's convinced that buying something, anything, could make it right. She needs a new planner to get organized. New clothes, because hers feel as worn out as she does. A new phone, because hers is slow and annoying, just like everything else. She goes as far as putting a new phone in her online cart, but as she hovers over the submit button, the ban stops her, and in that pause, she recognizes the pattern. Years earlier, After a toxic breakup, she'd tried to build a new life by buying one. Spent over $3,000 in a week on new furniture, then new clothes, then financed a brand new car, racking up nearly $20,000 in debt, trying to create a life that looked perfect from the outside, but was built on credit card quicksand. Shopping never actually fixed the pain. It just buried it under a mountain of bills. This time, she can't numb herself with stuff. She has to sit with the pain, feel every awful bit of it, and keep living. She empties the shopping carts and closes the browser tabs. As the months roll on, the ban starts affecting her friendships. Some friends don't get it. They try to drag her to outlet malls or tell her she deserves to treat herself. It's the same social pressure she faced when she quit drinking. When you change, you disrupt the rituals that hold friendships together. Shopping trips, talking about deals, showing off new stuff. These were how she connected with people. By opting out, she's kind of leaving them behind. But while some friendships fade, others deepen. She leans on her best friend Emma, who becomes her accountability partner, laughing with her through panicked texts about wanting to buy everything, gently reminding her why she's doing this. The ban frees up not just money, but time and energy, which she pours into the people who actually support her. It also frees up money for something she'd always claimed she couldn't afford: travel. She flies to Denver for a friend's wedding, a trip made possible entirely by the money she's not spending on stuff. She realizes she can't remember most of the things she got rid of, but she remembers every detail of her trips: the sights, the food, the conversations. The experiences are infinitely more valuable than the things. But even with all this progress, the old habits are still lurking in the shadows. The ultimate test comes on Black Friday. An email slips through her filters, advertising a massive sale on e-readers. Hers is broken, and she's promised to give one away on her blog. It's the perfect excuse. And then, she hears it, that familiar, seductive voice. You've never seen them this cheap. You need this. You've been so good for so long, and you have the money. Before she knows what's happening, she blacks out. Not from alcohol, but from the impulse to consume. The next thing she remembers is an order confirmation in her inbox. She bought 2 e-readers, one for the giveaway, one for herself. She broke the ban. In the past, a slip-up like this would have triggered a shame spiral. She'd have called herself a failure and given up completely, binging even harder. But this time, something's different. A new voice emerges. A kinder one. You don't need a new e-reader. Yours works fine. See if you can cancel the order. And she does. She manages to cancel the order for her own e-reader. It's a huge victory. Not because she didn't buy something, but because she changed her reaction to a mistake. She doesn't let one slip-up define her as a failure. Instead of hiding it in shame, she writes about it on her blog, admitting her mistake to her readers. She's learning that being a mindful consumer isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest and intentional. The biggest challenge of the year, though, has nothing to do with shopping. In February, her deepest fear becomes reality. Her parents, whose marriage she'd always seen as this stable, happy foundation, are getting divorced. The rock her entire life was built on has crumbled. The future she'd always imagined, family trips, holidays together, her parents as grandparents side by side, is gone. The pain is crushing, and she falls into a deep depression, spending weeks in bed, hiding from the world. All her old coping mechanisms are gone. She can't shop away the sadness, and though she thinks about drinking, she knows it won't help. She has to face the grief head-on. In this dark period, she realizes something profound about the stuff she'd held onto for so long. The unread classic novels, the clothes for a more professional version of herself, the scrapbooking materials for a more creative version. She'd bought all these things, not for the person she was, but for the person she thought she should be. They were props for an idealized version of herself that she was constantly chasing because she never felt good enough as she was. Letting go of that stuff meant letting go of the pressure to be someone else, and finally accepting herself. This clarity spreads to every corner of her life. The shopping ban has shown her something crucial. When you want less, you consume less, and therefore you need less money. For months, she's been living on just 44 to 47% of her income. She doesn't need a high-paying corporate job to be happy. In fact, her job, which was once a dream, is now burning her out. The ban gives her the numbers and the courage to see another path. She's already earning enough from freelance writing on the side to cover her essentials. She could quit her job, work for herself, live anywhere. The idea of moving back to her smaller, slower hometown of Victoria suddenly becomes real. So just a week before the shopping ban is set to end, she quits her job. The chains of a steady paycheck, which once felt like security, now feel like a cage. She chooses freedom. On July 6, 2015, the year-long shopping ban officially ends. Over those 12 months, she lived on 51% of her income, saved 31%, a total of $17,000, and traveled with the rest. She purged 70% of her belongings, but the numbers are just a byproduct. The real transformation is invisible. She started this journey to fix her finances, but she ended up fixing her life. The ban forced her to stop living on autopilot. It challenged her, turned her life upside down, and ultimately saved her. She stripped away everything she thought she needed, and in the space that was left, she finally found herself. She wasn't just enough, she had enough. When you finish a story like Cait's, it's tempting to focus on the big, shiny numbers. $17,000 saved, 70% of belongings gone. And sure, those are impressive, but the real power of this book isn't in the what, it's in the why. At its core, The Year of Less explores this devastatingly simple, painfully human question: am I enough? For years, Cait's answer was a resounding no. She thought she needed more money, more clothes, more books, more experiences to become the person she was supposed to be. She was using consumption as a construction tool to build a better version of herself. And isn't that something we all do? We live in a world constantly screaming that we're incomplete, that we need this cream to look younger, this car to look successful, this phone to be connected. The message is always the same. You, right now as you are lacking. Buy this, and you'll be one step closer to whole. What Cait's journey so beautifully reveals is that this is a race with no finish line. More is never the answer. The real answer, she discovered, was learning to sit with that feeling of not enough, and realizing it was a lie. The process of decluttering her home was really about decluttering her identity. By getting rid of the things that represented the ideal Cait, she made room for the real Cait to emerge. Another profound lesson here is the redefinition of freedom. We're taught that financial freedom means having enough money to buy whatever you want, whenever you want. But this book flips that idea completely upside down. Cait discovered that true freedom came from needing less. When she drastically cut her spending, she drastically reduced the amount of money she needed to earn. This gave her the ultimate freedom, walking away from a job that was burning her out and designing life on her own terms. It's a powerful reminder that our lifestyle choices directly dictate the chains binding us to our work. Want less, work less, live more. So how can we bring these lessons into our own lives? You don't have to commit to a full year of no shopping to start. Here are a few simple, practical actions inspired by the book. First, conduct a small experiment. Pick one category of non-essential spending that's your weakness. Maybe books, or clothes, or takeout coffee, and ban yourself from buying it for just 30 days. Pay attention to your triggers. Notice when you feel the urge to buy. What's happening in that moment? Are you bored, stressed, sad? This isn't about restriction. It's about awareness. Second, take inventory of one small area of your home. Maybe it's that cabinet under your bathroom sink, crammed with half-used bottles. As you sort through it, ask yourself the question Cait learned to ask. Did I buy this for the person I am, or the person I want to be? This simple question can reveal so much about the gap between our reality and our aspirations. And finally, start a shopping ban savings account. Every time you successfully resist an impulse purchase, transfer the money you would have spent into that account. Whether it's $5 from a coffee or 50 from a shirt, watching that money grow is incredibly powerful. It turns every no into a victory. That was the summary of The Year of Less by Cait Flanders. We've walked through the major milestones of her journey today, but here's the thing. A summary is like looking at a map of a beautiful trail. You can see the path, you can see the destination, but you can't feel the sun on your skin or hear the crunch of leaves under your feet. The true magic of this book lies in its vulnerability and raw honesty, in those quiet moments of reflection that make you pause and look at your own life differently. This summary is your map. If anything we've talked about has sparked your curiosity about that trail, I encourage you to grab a copy and experience the hike for yourself. It's a journey that doesn't just show you how to live with less, but how to discover that you're already more than enough. Also, if you found this summary valuable and it sparked some new ideas, please show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep learning and growing together.